Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we are looking into a moment of just um, profound catastrophe, a single devastating car accident.
Yeah, and how that one event became this violent shortcut to the truth, really.
Exactly, forcing two families to confront the lies they were living, maybe even the truths they were hiding from themselves.
Our source material, it really plunges us right into the immediate aftermath. We get incredibly intimate access to the lives of Paige Clarke and Trygve Thorensen.
It's quite remarkable, isn't it? A study in human endurance.
Definitely. You see the raw terror of critical injury, the shocking reality of infidelity in a marriage, resilience, but also that relentless search for accountability, for answers.
So our mission today is to take this stack of sources and really track that cascade of events. It all starts with Allyson Clarke's head-on collision on the Golden Gate Bridge, of all places.
Right, and we want to understand how that single brutal event didn't just, injure children,
Which is horrific enough.
of course, but how it also simultaneously shattered Paige's seemingly perfect marriage, while, kind of paradoxically, building this really authentic foundation for a new relationship.
A relationship forged entirely in a hospital waiting room. It's quite a setting for a beginning.
The central theme we're pulling from all this is how the accident acted as this brutal, almost necessary catalyst. It exposed the foundational rot in Paige's life, things that had been, successfully hidden for years.
So we'll unpack the medical side, the really complex challenges there.
Yeah, and the forensic mystery around the crash itself, what actually happened.
Plus the ugly confrontation of betrayal, the lies coming out.
And then, somehow, the path to an unlikely second chance at life, at love, it's all in there.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much does it take for someone to shed that polite but maybe miserable existence and embrace something true, even if it's painful?
That's the core question, I
Let's
think.
begin the deep dive.
Okay, so the sources, they start by painting this very clear picture of the Clarke family life, literally hours before everything changed.
Just a normal Saturday.
Exactly. We see Paige, it's a warm, sunny afternoon, and she's feeling profoundly grateful, watching her son, Andy, play baseball.
Andy, who they called their little miracle baby.
Right, because he was born so premature, 2.5 months early after Paige had a bad fall from a ladder.
Hmm.
So you get this sense of preciousness around him.
But there's an undercurrent to that gratitude, isn't there? The sources show this longing.
Yeah, a specific kind of gnawing longing. Paige is reflecting on her marriage to Brad, wishing for, romantic trips, more time with him.
It sounds like a marriage that's just running on fumes.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
On autopilot, the sources say they only seem to catch each other on the fly or the end of an exhausting day. She felt trapped in carpools, PTA meetings.
A long way from her old life designing sets.
A very long way. So the illusion of normalcy, it's there. But the connection underneath, it seems pretty threadbare.
And then there's Allyson, the daughter, 15.
Sophomore, beautiful potential model. And ready to escape that suburban Saturday night.
So she cooks up a lie.
A careful one. Tells Paige she's going to dinner at Luigi's, then a movie with her friend Chloe. And, importantly, accompanied by Chloe's father, Trygve Thorensen.
That was the cover story.
That was the cover. The real plan involved 2 older boys, upperclassmen swimmers. Phillip Chapman, 17, a senior.
And Jamie Applegate, a junior.
This was Allison's first date that needed, a real intentional deception. Sneaking out, meeting them around the corner so her mom wouldn't see Phillip's car.
Classic teenage stuff, but it sets the stage.
It really does. And the evening starts normally enough, but the sources give us these details that become critical later.
Like at the restaurant, Luigi's.
Yeah. Phillip, trying to act older, more sophisticated, orders 2 glasses of house red wine.
But Allyson notices he doesn't drink much of it.
Right, only about half a glass, she observes. And he follows that up quickly with 2 strong cups of black coffee.
Trying to counteract the wine.
It seems like it. And then later, a cappuccino on Union Street. So you see this picture of a young guy, maybe trying a bit too hard, juggling mild alcohol with pretty aggressive caffeine countermeasures.
And Philip, the source notes, he was usually careful behind the wheel.
Very. Taught by his meticulous father since he was 9. And he shows that by insisting Allyson buckle up.
Which she does.
She does. But in the back seat, Chloe and Jamie. They're giggling, whispering, ignoring Philip's order to put their seatbelts on.
Just goofing around.
Yeah, but that small detail, that split-second choice to ignore the rule, it foreshadows the huge difference in injuries later.
Okay, so they're crossing the Golden Gate Bridge.
And Phillip takes his eyes off the road. Just for a second. A fatal instant, glancing at Allyson next to him.
And when he looks back,
Too late. The crash is described with just terrifying clarity. A flash of light, a bolt of lightning hurtling toward them.
a head-on collision. Phillip's gray Mercedes and another car.
Driven by a woman later identified as Laura Hutchinson.
The scene immediately after. It sounds like chaos.
Total apocalypse. The sources say the cars crashed and then sort of twirled like two enraged bulls. Utterly deformed. The force must have been monumental.
And the injuries were immediate and shocking.
Phillip Chapman, the driver who glanced away, killed instantly on impact. Just 17.
God, 17.
Huh.
And Allyson.
She was the most critically injured survivor, found completely unconscious, crushed under the dashboard. It had been shoved right back into the passenger side.
Oh, no.
Major head injury, massive blood loss. Her pulse was described as thin and thready.
Barely there.
Barely there. The first doctor on the scene, a young guy, saw how bad it was, the internal damage, the head trauma, and he thought her prognosis was extremely poor.
He didn't think she'd make it.
Doubted she'd live long enough for the rescue team to even get her out. And her position, pinned like that, made immediate CPR or anything impossible.
So attention shifts to the back seat. To Chloe.
Right. Chloe Thorensen was trapped, screaming hysterically that she couldn't move.
Her injuries were different, though.
Focused on her lower body, but catastrophic in their own way. Multiple compound fractures in both legs, a shattered hip, broken pelvis, internal injuries. Her spleen eventually had to be removed.
Awful. But her life wasn't in the same immediate danger as Allyson's?
Not in that immediate mortal sense, but the potential long-term damage was devastating. Could she walk again, dance, have children? All huge question marks.
And Jamie Applegate, the other boy in the back?
He was the anomaly. Maybe because he was in the back, maybe just random chance, but he had relatively mild injuries. Mild concussion, few stitches over his eyebrow.
Wow.
In shock, obviously, but physically, the source says, untouched by the horror. Such a stark contrast.
It really highlights the brutal randomness of crashes and seatbelts, presumably.
Absolutely. And the rescue itself. The sources detail this intensely. They needed the jaws of life.
That big hydraulic tool.
Yeah. A 5-man team working incredibly fast, describes having almost surgical reactions, stabilizing the car using an axe on the glass, then the cutter pulling off the roof.
Must have been incredibly loud.
So loud, terrifyingly loud, that it completely drowned out Chloe's screaming, which is saying something.
And they had to make a tough call, didn't they, about who to rescue first?
Critical triage decision. Chloe was conscious, screaming, obviously in agony. But Allyson was closer to death.
So they had to prioritize Allyson.
Had to free Allyson first, get her onto the gurney, being incredibly careful about her neck and spine. They knew she needed a neurosurgeon, like now.
That first doctor who thought she wouldn't make it, did he stay with her?
He did. Even though he felt his contribution was minimal at that point, he stayed right by her side. Just sheer dedication.
It's hard to fathom. 1 minute, teenagers giggling on a date.
The next, facing the absolute worst physical and existential pain you can imagine. And for the parents, well, their nightmare was just beginning.
So while Allyson is being rushed into emergency surgery, Paige Clarke is thrown into this desperate personal crisis.
Utterly alone at first, she gets that devastating call Allyson's at Marin General, severe head injury. And her first instinct, naturally, is to find her husband, Brad.
But she can't reach him.
She can't. And this is where the facade, that perfect marriage image, starts to crack immediately. Brad was supposedly in Cleveland on business.
Okay.
But for the first time in 16 years of marriage, he'd forgotten to leave the hotel name and number on the notepad where he always left it.
Just
Blank.
a blank page.
So Paige is forced into this agonizing process, calling his associate, who then has to call the supposed client in Cleveland, just trying to track Brad down. Imagine the panic.
While her daughter might be dying. Oh, that's awful.
And while Paige is struggling with this, completely isolated, Trygve Thorensen arrives at the hospital.
Chloe's father.
Right. He brings the terrible news about Chloe's injuries, the hip replacement needed, the pins in her pelvis, the prognosis about walking and dancing.
But he also brings something else.
The truth. He immediately tells Paige the girls had lied. He wasn't the driver. It was these older boys.
Wow, right away.
Right away. That difficult, immediate honesty. It instantly establishes him as this reliable, decent ally in the middle of absolute chaos.
And the contrast with Brad is just stark.
It really is. The sources highlight it beautifully. Paige is alone, facing this ultimate parental terror, chasing a ghost husband. Trygve, despite his own daughter suffering terribly, is present, actively providing practical emotional support.
And we learn more about Trygve's background, which explains some of that, right?
Exactly. His past is key to understanding his reliability here. He'd stayed in what the sources call a bad marriage for 20 years with his wife Dana,
Why?
explicitly to avoid disrupting the kids, especially their son Bjorn, who has Down syndrome.
Okay.
When Dana eventually left, the sources say she couldn't cope with the reality of raising a child with disabilities. Trygve took on everything. All of the parental responsibility, maintaining warmth, good humor.
So his commitment isn't just theoretical.
Not at all. It's tested resilience. Decades of it. And it made him the calm, rational voice Paige desperately needed in that hospital. He literally noticed she was about to collapse and physically made her eat something.
Just basic human care when she couldn't manage it herself.
Precisely. Meanwhile, the medical reality for Allyson is laid out by the chief neurosurgeon, Dr. Hammerman. And it's brutal.
What were the specifics?
Severe head trauma, obviously. A depressed bone fracture, meaning part of the skull was pushed inward, needing immediate surgery to lift it and relieve pressure on the brain.
Okay.
Plus catastrophic blood loss, loss of oxygen to the brain because of that, and damage around her eye socket, the orbital area, which carried a real risk of blindness, even if she survived.
God, and the prognosis?
Dr. Harriman didn't mince words. He said the damage could be catastrophic or very slight. There's no way to know for sure yet.
But the odds.
The likelihood of a normal recovery required extreme luck. His words were a small miracle. And he presents Paige with this terrible choice. Sign the consent forms for immediate high-risk surgery right now, or Allyson will be dead by morning.
And Brad still isn't there.
Still isn't there. The sources emphasize the sheer weight of this decision falling entirely on Paige's shoulders, signing away her daughter's future alone.
And then Brad arrives.
Then Brad arrives. And this is where the second disaster hits, the emotional head-on collision.
How long after Paige finally reached him?
That's the key. Paige had finally tracked him down. He claimed he was in Cleveland. But he walks into Marin General only 1 hour after their phone call.
1 hour. From Cleveland to Marin, California.
Impossible. Geographically impossible. The lie is instantly exposed right there in the hospital corridor.
What was his reaction?
Tellingly, immediate annoyance, defensiveness. Instead of empathy for Allyson, he snaps at Paige for allowing the operation without him.
But the surgeon said minutes mattered.
Completely ignoring that reality.
Yeah.
When Paige understandably presses him on where he really was, the Cleveland lie just crumbles.
So she confesses.
He confesses. He hadn't been in Cleveland at all. He'd been with a colleague, a girlfriend, named Stephanie.
Oh, man.
For the past 8 months, they spent the weekend at John Gardner, a fancy tennis ranch down in Carmel Valley.
He admits this.
Right there, in the hallway outside the ICU, while their daughter is undergoing brain surgery. The sources describe the foundation of their 16-year marriage just crumbling. Paige felt the whole foundation undermined long since, and the entire structure has finally caved in.
The justification must have been something else.
Almost crueler than the betrayal itself. He says he still owes Paige. Terrific mother, great wife, all that.
Got it.
But he's no longer in love with her. He prefers Stephanie because she, and these are his words, set his heart and his mind on fire.
Wow. The timing to say that then.
It shows such profound emotional distance. Selfishness, really. Like the facade, the polite marriage had become his actual reality, disconnected from Paige's pain or Allyson's danger.
Did he want to leave right away?
No, he actually wanted to postpone any decisions. Ask Paige to just absorb this massive blow, his affair, the lie, while managing their daughter's potential death or permanent disability.
How did he justify that?
He cited the difficulty a separation would cause Andy, their son, putting it all back on Paige. It was the ultimate emotional abdication, really.
This is such a key point the sources bring out, isn't it? How a crisis like this doesn't just cause the immediate damage.
Right. It exerts so much pressure that any existing weakness, like a marriage built on habit and denial, just gets violently exposed. It can't hold into that strain.
The accident forced the truth out, whether they were ready or not.
Exactly. No more hiding.
So as the initial medical crisis sort of stabilizes into this long, agonizing wait at the hospital, attention starts shifting.
Yeah, towards accountability. What happened? Who was responsible? Phillip Chapman, the driver of the kids' car, was dead. But the sheer force of that crash, assigning fault wasn't simple.
The initial findings were murky.
Very murky. Phillip's blood test did show some alcohol, but it was below the legal limit for intoxication.
Okay. And the other driver?
Laura Hutchinson, wife of Senator John Hutchinson. She claimed vehemently that she hadn't had a single drink all night.
And Trygve Thorensen, Chloe's dad, he had thoughts about this.
Oh yeah, Trygve, being a former freelance political writer, he immediately saw the dynamics at play. He smelled a rat, basically.
What did he suspect?
He was intensely cynical about it. Suspected political influence, a deliberate PR spin to protect the senator's wife, a prominent figure.
How so?
Well, he read a media piece that seemed to suggest the accident was primarily Phillip's fault. It portrayed Mrs. Hutchinson as this mature, upstanding citizen, while Phillip was just a dead kid,
Yeah.
implicitly assumed to be wild or reckless.
But Trygve didn't buy that narrative.
No, he believed the vehicles were probably almost equally to blame, but the story was being unfairly shaped, stacked against the dead teenager because of the politics involved.
That's a powerful insight the sources give us, isn't it? How easily truth gets manipulated in a crisis.
Especially when power and politics are involved. The immediate assumption favors the surviving adult with connections, while the dead kid gets blamed. Trygve's refusal to just accept that polished story is really key to his character.
And the human tragedy is right there, too, with Philip's parents.
Absolutely. The sources describe their arrival a nice couple, late 50s, just devastated. Philip was their only child, born late in life. Imagine their pain.
And the funeral? Laura Hutchinson was there?
She attended, crying softly in a pew.
What did Trygve make of that?
He saw right through it, or at least he believed he did.
Yeah.
Cynically suggested to Paige it was a calculated PR move.
Orchestrated by her husband, the senator.
That was Trygve's suspicion, to demonstrate remorse, sincerity, maybe head off any narrative suggesting she was culpable or cold.
And this shared skepticism, this refusal to just swallow the easy story that connected Paige and Trygve.
Immediately, it formed this kind of intellectual bedrock for their deepening bond. They saw the world, or at least this situation, in a similar critical way.
And over the weeks of waiting at the hospital, that bond strengthens.
Into essential mutual support. Trygve really becomes Paige's anchor. He's the one forcing her to eat, take care of herself, offering to do school runs for Andy.
Providing that calm, rational voice against her emotional chaos.
Exactly. They spent hours together just talking about the unfairness of it all.
They talked about people telling them to be grateful.
Yeah, they found common ground there. Paige hated being told to be grateful their kids were alive when just weeks before they were perfectly healthy teenagers. It felt perverse.
And Trygve understood that.
Deeply. He'd faced similar, well-meaning but misguided comments about Bjorn's Down syndrome. Be grateful he isn't more retarded. He got why those platitudes felt so inadequate, almost insulting.
That shared understanding must have been powerful.
Made their shared pain feel authentic, validated, and Trygve could offer perspective from his own life.
He told her about his marriage to Dana.
The full story. 20 years in a bad marriage, Dana ultimately leaving because she couldn't handle Bjorn's reality. He talked about Bjorn himself, his resilience, his art, his humor, his loyalty.
Showing Paige a different model of commitment.
Exactly. Commitment that goes beyond fleeting passion, that endures through imperfection and challenge. A stark contrast to what she was experiencing with Brad.
But all this strain, the accident, Allyson's condition, the fighting between Paige and Brad, it took a toll on their son, Andy?
A huge toll. The sources show that after 3 long weeks of this chaos, 7-year-old Andy ran away from home.
Oh, no. Did he leave a note?
Heartbreakingly clear. He wrote that he knew the fighting was all his fault. He thought they were angry at him, and he just wanted them to be happy.
Oh, that poor kid. Taking it all on himself.
Classic childhood response to adult conflict. Brad, predictably maybe, panicked and called the police immediately. A procedural response.
But Trygve found him.
Yes. And this is really the first act of genuine family blending. Trygve found Andy hiding at his house, sitting quietly with Bjorn.
Why did Andy go there?
When Trygve asked, Andy just said he went there because he was too sad at home.
Wow. That must have hit Paige hard.
It was crucial. It validated her gut feeling, her broken marriage, Brad's emotional absence that was harming Andy right now, possibly more than the accident itself. The catastrophe had forced her priorities to shift dramatically towards the emotional safety of her remaining family.
So, nearly 11 weeks pass. Weeks of waiting uncertainty.
And then, Trygve's initial suspicion about the Golden Gate Bridge crash, it gets confirmed. Tragically and definitively.
What happened?
The news was just staggering. Laura Hutchinson, the senator's wife, the other driver, she was arrested down in La Jolla.
For what?
Felony vehicular manslaughter. She'd been driving drunk again, caused another head-on collision.
Oh my God.
And this time, she killed an entire family. A husband, 32, his 28-year-old pregnant wife, their 2 little kids, aged 2 and 5.
5 people, plus the unborn baby.
And her own 12-year-old daughter, who was in the car with her, was injured too.
This is sickening. But it validated Trygve's cynicism.
Completely. It suggested the political PR machine had successfully covered up her issues after the first crash. Her dangerous habits continued, unchecked, until this mass fatality.
And it cleared Phillip Chapman's name.
Unequivocally. The teenager wasn't the sole reckless cause. Page noted grimly, Laura Hutchinson had now effectively killed 6 people, counting Phillip, and potentially 7 if Allyson didn't survive.
Did Trygve do anything with this information?
Immediately. He contacted an investigative reporter friend, asked him to dig into Laura Hutchinson's drinking history. He wanted to help the Chapmans, Phillip's parents.
They were suing the papers.
Yeah, trying to clear their son's name and reputation after that initial skewed reporting. Trygve's actions showed his commitment to truth went beyond just his own family.
And then, amidst all this, a shift with Allyson.
Yes. Nearly 4 months after the crash, the tragedy starts turning towards miracle. Allyson wakes up.
After all that time in a coma.
After weeks of Pages talking to her, reading to her, whispering encouragement, she finally opens her eyes, starts responding.
That must have been incredible.
The Thorensen family, Trygve, Chloe, Bjorn, they drove down immediately from Tahoe, where Chloe was recuperating, just to share the moment. It shows how intertwined these families had become.
How was Allyson initially?
It was limited and painful to see still. Brad was ecstatic at the news, naturally, but then disappointed by her actual response.
Oh, so.
She looked at him, seemed suspicious almost, called him man, before finally managing a whispered, "Da-da." Every word, every movement was a huge struggle. She could sit up, but walking was impossible at that point.
So a miracle, but a fragile one.
Frighteningly fragile. But then Dr. Hammerman, the neurosurgeon who gave that first dire prognosis,
He revises his assessment.
based on her progress, yes, he now projects Allyson could have a 95% recovery.
95%, that's huge.
It meant she'd likely lead a normal life, maybe with some minor, lasting limitations.
Like what?
His example was telling. She might not balance her checkbook perfectly, or maybe her reflexes wouldn't be quite fast enough to drive a car safely.
Yeah.
But compared to death or catastrophic brain damage,
It's almost everything.
it solidified that word miracle, from near certain death to near total recovery.
So Allyson's future is looking brighter. What does this mean for Paige and Brad?
It means the final curtain for their marriage. With the immediate crisis seeming to pass, Brad felt free to make his move.
Towards Stephanie.
Yes. Apparently, Stephanie was pressing him for a commitment. So Brad announces he's moving out, moving to the city to be with her.
He tells Andy.
That conversation was just devastating, according to the sources. It really shows the emotional maturity Andy had been forced into.
How did it go?
Brad admitted he couldn't leave Stephanie, but he also struggled with leaving Andy. Andy looked absolutely heartbroken. He kept asking desperately, "What will Allyson say when she comes home?" trying to find any reason for his dad to stay.
Oh, that's rough.
And Andy's reaction afterwards, talking to Paige, was the final nail in the coffin for any denial Paige might have clung to.
What did he say?
He confronted Paige specifically about Stephanie. Confessed that he hated her, not just because she existed, but because she represented the inescapable fact that Brad was never coming back.
The accident really was a truth serum. For everyone.
Forced Paige to face reality, and by extension, forced her to start building a new life.
Bro.
One based not on polite convenience, but on that painful, clarifying truth.
So the path is clear for Paige and Trygve.
Well, their bond deepens, moving really naturally, deliberately from that shared trauma into genuine romance.
Trygve's patient, though.
Very. The sources emphasize he respected Paige's need for time to process the end of her marriage. But his support was just constant
Yeah.
and practical, stepping into all the gaps Brad left.
Taking Andy to baseball, bringing food.
Just being there, steady friendship first.
And the romance evolves from that.
Exactly. It's fascinating because it wasn't built on some whirlwind spark. It was built on tested resilience, shared parenting, seeing each other at their absolute worst and most vulnerable.
Where was their first kiss?
Not somewhere romantic. Right there in the ICU waiting room. The place where they'd shared the most fear, but also found the most profound connection.
That says a lot.
It really does. And their first proper date later at a place called the Silver Dove.
Still close to the hospital?
Symbolic, right. A romantic spot, yes, but close enough that they could be reached instantly if Allyson or Chloe needed them. Their relationship was always grounded in their responsibilities.
And Paige starts working again, too, professionally.
Yes, and Trygve is key to this. Remember, he used to be a freelance political writer dealing with complex stuff. He starts a new path and hires Paige as a paying client for her artwork.
Her artwork. What kind?
It starts with a consultation for a big mural at his home. This is huge for Paige. It signals her moving back towards her professional identity, the one that had kind of stagnated during her marriage to Brad.
So she's reclaiming that part of herself.
Absolutely. And the blending of the families, the sources show it was remarkably smooth.
Especially compared to Brad trying to force Andy and Stephanie together.
Exactly. Andy and Bjorn, Trygve's son. Despite the age gap, 7 and 18, they just clicked.
Bjorn has Down syndrome, right? How did that work?
Bjorn functions at an emotional age of maybe 10 to 12. And the sources say he had a real soft spot for younger kids. They played baseball together, cards. Andy just naturally started seeing Trygve as this kind, dependable father figure.
A constant presence, unlike Brad.
Right. And for Trygve, Paige's acceptance of Bjorn was immensely important.
Why is that?
He confessed to Paige how grateful he was for her kindness towards Bjorn. He revealed this deep fear he'd carried that he could never marry again because he worried no one would love his son, his special needs son, as much as he did.
And Paige's easy acceptance removed that fear.
Completely. It removed the final barrier to them building a future together.
And that future arrives quite quickly.
It culminates in this joyous, totally unexpected surprise. Trygve proposes marriage, planned for December, and Paige reveals she's pregnant, unplanned, conceived about 6 weeks ago, after their long period of mutual respect and waiting had finally, naturally, led to intimacy.
Wow. Another miracle baby.
That's exactly what Trygve calls it. His reaction is sheer delight. He immediately starts listing their collection of miracles.
Let's hear it.
Bjorn himself, Chloe's incredible recovery from those shattering injuries, Andy's surviving his premature birth,
Allyson's recovery from the brink of death.
and now this new baby. He jokes to Paige that they've basically cornered the market on miracles.
It's quite a list.
It really is. So Paige now has this clear path forward. Professionally, she's back to her artwork full-time, planning murals, even taking on leading an art program at Bjorn's school.
And personally.
Blending her family with Trygve's, anchored by shared strength, mutual love for all their kids, and looking forward to Allyson finally coming home, with every expectation now for a full, normal recovery.
What a profound journey. From that violent disruption on the bridge.
The head-on collision didn't just shatter glass and bone.
No, it shattered complacency. It shattered lies. And allowed something much stronger, much more authentic to be built in its place.
Yeah, when you synthesize all this source material, the key takeaway really is that intense transformative power of crisis. The accident wasn't just about injuring children.
As horrific as that was.
Absolutely. But it acted like the psychological equivalent of those jaws of life, prying open a fraudulent marriage that was only held together by denial and habit.
That's the core insight, isn't it? Paige herself realized her marriage had been undermined long since. The accident was just the irresistible external force needed for the whole thing to finally collapse.
Exactly. Without that extreme pressure, you have to wonder, would she have stayed? Continued living that polite lie, maybe fearing the pain of change even more than the pain of staying put?
It's possible. And conversely, the shared vulnerability, the constant stress of the hospital, it forced Paige and Trygve to connect on a completely different level.
Based purely on fundamental shared values, that unflinching dedication to their kids, resilience, and, I think critically, intellectual honesty.
Trygve questioning the official narrative right from the start.
Yeah, his refusal to just accept the politically spun story about the crash was a huge signal of his character. Their relationship was built facing the harshest, most painful truths together.
So in a world that's constantly throwing information at us full of polished appearances, this story feels like a stark reminder.
That true character and true danger, like Laura Hutchinson hiding her devastating problem behind that mature, upstanding citizen facade, is often hidden.
Right. And that profound healing, building authentic relationships, it often starts with being willing to face the hard truths head on, even when it's incredibly painful.
And despite everything they went through, the horror, devastation, the end result for Paige and Trygve was arguably a stronger, more honest, more authentically joyful life than either of them had planned for in their previous complacent marriages.
Which leaves us with a really important question, I think, for you, the listener, to consider.
If catastrophic pain can force that kind of radical honesty and transformation, is there another way? Is there a conscious, deliberate path you can take to achieve that same deep, transformative clarity about your own life, your own relationships, without waiting for a crisis to force your hand?